Let's talk about the election. Newt Gingrich, Wall Street Journal editorial page. What's his name? Olson. What's his first name? Henry Olson. Karl Rove. There's general agreement, except among some, that Republicans had a bad day on Tuesday. And even the president in his interview with Brett suggested things weren't great. And you've got you've got this notion from James Blair, president's one of the top political advisors, deputy White House chief of staff, that the focus is now going to be on talking about affordability. Do we have Blair at 115? If not, just put up the headline. Here it is.
75% of Mickey Sherrill's ads were positive, overwhelmingly talking about cost of living and heavily talking about lowering power costs. Jack didn't really talk about that. He talked about taxes and he won the tax vote, but he didn't address those key issues of affordability very effectively. He was mostly talking generically about Change New Jersey. And I'm not denigrating Jack, but it was not in line necessarily with what voters were saying. Two, in Virginia, over half of Winsome Sears ads talked about transgender, and it's not even the top 5 issues, according to voters. Why did Zohran Mamdani do so well last night? He relentlessly focused on affordability. People can talk about communists, they can say all these things, but the fact is, he was talking about the cost of living.
Folks that I'm talking to privately who are supporters of President Trump think that he needs to be talking about cost of living a whole lot more. Are we going to see that pivot?
I think you'll see the president talk a lot about cost of living as we turn the year and into the new year. The president is very keyed into what's going on, and he recognizes, like anybody, that it takes time to do an economic turnaround, but all the fundamentals are there. And I think you'll see him be very, very focused on prices and cost of living.
Very, very focused, not always associated with Donald Trump. Here he is yesterday with Bret Baier saying everything's pretty much okay except for beef. This is 105, please.
She is a registered Republican all her life. She voted for you 3 different times, but she is not happy about how her prices have not come down that she sees. And she said this, quote, "I want the Republicans to keep control of Congress in 2026, but something has to be done fast. I don't see the best economy right now. Wall Street numbers do not reflect my Main Street money. Please do something, President Trump." So I guess, what do you say to Regina and people like her?
Well, I do say this. Beef we have to get down. I think of groceries. You know, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word. Beef we have to get down, but we've got prices way down. And think of this. Energy. She drives a car, probably, and her energy prices are way down. And energy is so all-encompassing. It's so big that when energy goes down, everything comes down. Everything follows it. And I have energy down to 5-6 year lows now.
You think prices are coming down from this?
I believe that. Yeah, I think they're coming down, but I think they're down already. I think the biggest problem is Republicans don't talk about it. They don't talk about the word affordability, and the Democrats lie about it. Look.
Sean, to paraphrase Mark Twain, everybody talks about affordability, but no one but Mamdani is doing anything about it. The president sounds like Joe Biden. And when you say that to White House officials, they bristle. But how is he supposed to talk about affordability? How is he supposed to talk about inflation and people's anxiety without sounding unlike himself and sounding too negative, but also not sounding out of touch?
I think this goes back to what I said just a moment ago. I mean, look, the number one issue for so many Americans is the cost of healthcare, the cost of prescription drugs. He's done it before. He's going to do it again today. I think he's right. And this goes back to exactly what I said a minute ago. They do it and then they move on, right? I mean, if you're tackling the issue and you don't tell anybody it, they should be having all of the folks at HHS, Kennedy, Oz, McCary, Bhattacharya, going out there and doing events.
But separate from healthcare, what about groceries and what about housing?
Okay, so
what about groceries and housing?
Right. So eggs are down 23%, gasoline's down 2.6 to 12%, used cars and trucks down 3.5, car insurance is down 4 to 6%, airfare is down 3.5 to 7.9 across the board. A loaf of bread is down 3.6.
Okay, but
milk is down.
The polling doesn't suggest it.
Okay, but here's my point. This gets back to the disparity between the reality and what they're doing. Things are actually, you go to the grocery store now and look around, I literally live and die by, I fill up my car when the price of gas is down. It was $2.79 for a gallon of gas at the top of my street the other day. $2.79, right? And I was like, okay, I'm filling up today. I'm going to probably go get the other car and fill it up too. The problem is that again, it goes back to selling it. If you're not telling anyone that it's happening, where the president and frankly, the president's right about this. The Republicans, and this goes back to what I've said about the shutdown, they're basically checking a box and then going home every day. Where are the events? Where is the messaging? They've got $300 million. They got outside groups that are sitting on their hands. We just had an election. I mean, by the way, the forward thinking of this, we just had two elections where both sides, and I crapped all over the consultants. James Blair comes out and says, dum-dums, what were you doing the entire time? How does James Blair know all this? And yet we had all of those ads going up in Virginia and New Jersey that had nothing to do with the top issue. I mean,
Right. Well,
it's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing to me that James Blair had no ability to contact those campaigns.
I will say this.
During the
They might
campaign.
contact him. I will just I can say on several issues, a lot of times those people don't listen. And I can say that from experience.
Yeah. Stephen, I listened to Hakeem Jeffries, who Brett Baer also interviewed last night. He just says the president's failed. He hasn't lowered prices. He said he would. But I didn't hear him offer a single idea. Do Democrats, in the context of the current fights and the midterms, have to have an affordability agenda? Or do they just have to say the president's failed?
They have to have an affordability agenda. And I think the key to the message is part of what Sean is saying. But what's so interesting, what you were saying, Sean, is the Democrats were making a similar argument during the end of the Biden years that we've done all this good work to improve the economy, just the people don't get it yet. And that's always a treacherous message because the people know. And if whether or not people can feel it, that's their kind of lived experience. And what people are saying right now is they're not feeling it enough yet. And that was a driving force in this past election. But Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats, they're putting together their three main priorities for a potential speakership and a potential majority after 2026. A big part of it needs to be affordability and it needs to be specific.
Yeah. The one difference that I would make, Stephen, is I agree with a whole bunch. I've said this forever and a bunch on the show leading up to the election. You can't force someone to believe something in their gut, whether it's crime or the economy. They walk down the street, they either think things are cheaper, they think their streets are safer, or they don't. But the problem is what the statistics, the difference between the Biden administration and the Trump administration is the Biden administration was telling us, don't believe your eyes. Egg prices were up, bread prices were up, gasoline prices were up. And they were saying, they said it's transitory. This is not, they had the problem with the Biden folks was the facts weren't on their side. Trump's literally can go off and say, this is how much gas is now. This is how much bread is now. These are how much eggs are. The prices have dropped in the last year. And he can actually point to that and say, go to the grocery store, look at it. That's why I'm saying when I drive up the street and I look at the gas little billboard thing and go, okay, it's cheap. I can see it. I will fill up. That's the difference. We have the statistics and the facts on our side.
Not on housing, not on education. There's still things that are super expensive, and there's still plenty of things at the grocery store and at restaurants that are way higher than people can afford and expect. All right, let's talk about the shit. Yeah,
Mark, I was just going to say you often refer to the diner in Green Bay, which I always love when you make that reference. And it's true, they may or may not have been talking about margins. I did enjoy your tweet on that, Mark, the other day. But what they do talk about when you go to a diner in Green Bay is that things are expensive. That is a conversation at the diner, at the bar. It's just, that's the sort of normal person on the street conversation you have.
I literally went to a diner in Green Bay after the Packers game, and I couldn't believe the prices. Luckily, I wasn't paying. Someone else treated it, but it was super expensive still.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.